Geoff Johns' Green Lantern Rebirth has just had a deluxe edition release, and I couldn't help myself. This was the first comic that really got me hooked. I had no idea about the Green Lantern when the film was supposed to come out a few years ago, 2011 I think it was, and I decided to read up a little bit on Green Lantern. I found out that this was the right place to start, and I got completely engrossed. And of course, when the film came out, I was very, very disappointed. But this book really started my my DC adventure. I originally read it in the trade paperback. I had to sell that when my son was born. I subsequently bought it in this hardcover edition, which is perfectly horrible. Turtleback books. I'll show you how horrible it is in a moment. But for the moment, let's focus a little bit on this new deluxe edition. I've just shown you how lovely it is underneath the dust cover. The dust cover is just the same as all the other dust covers in the deluxe edition. It's a really nice. It's a nice gloss. It feels high quality. It's again, it's more of a silky gloss than just a cheap gloss that you get on some editions, and it's very nice and thick as well. It feels robust. So the end papers are black, of course. Here we are. There's very little in terms of new material. The introduction is exactly the same as the introduction in this Turtleback edition, but you can see it's just been redesigned a little bit. It just looks a little bit more modern. So that's the introduction by Brad Meltzer. Okay, and the opening pages. So the art is really not my favorite, but you get used to it very fast. It's a little bit more realistic than I was used to when I started reading this, and yet not quite as realistic as some of the art that you get nowadays. But actually you get used to it very, very easily. This really isn't a graphic novel for children. It deals with very adult issues, so Geoff Johns had to pander a little to people who had been following the Green Lantern previously. He drops you straight into the universe, but as you read, if this is the first book that you are reading, he did intend it to be the first book that many Green Lantern readers would read. Then as you read, it's a little bit confusing at times because he is referring to things that happened in Hal Jordan's past. But as you read, everything falls into place, and it does work really, really well. I can confirm this does work really well as a starting point for anyone wanting to find out more about Green Lantern, and in fact about the entire DC universe. Geoff Johns was really at the helm of the New 52 movement, and this is really where it all started. I just can't recommend Geoff Johns' run on the Green Lantern highly enough. It's absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I would even go as far as to say that it's the best story that I've ever experienced in any medium. That's quite high praise. if you read from here all the way to Rebirth, then in fact further than Rebirth, all the way to Doomsday Clock, then that's basically my idea of a perfect story. Now, what you get at the back is this. Seems to be a one-shot comic. I don't think I've ever seen this before. It's a story about Hull taking Kyle Rayner, who's another one of the Green Lanterns, on a trip in an aeroplane. He wants to give him the thrill of flying. He says he's got the fight, but he doesn't have the thrill, and so he wants to take him to take off his ring and get into a plane and let him experience the raw thrill of being in a plane. I don't know who wrote this. It might have been Prentice Rollins. Rollins. I'm sorry. I'm not 100% sure. I much prefer the little story that comes at the end of this edition, which is basically Hull Jordan being introduced by two characters talking about him behind his back, right? So for the new reader, they get a little bit of background, and then they show him remembering, or not necessarily remembering, actually. Being picked up and receiving the ring for the first time from Abin Sur, this guy over here. So this is the origin, right, of Hal Jordan as the Green Lantern, and it's a four-page story, and I thought it was for 5-page story. I thought it was really perfect, actually. I thought it was a really nice way of ending this book, which has given the new reader a great introduction, but may have confused the new reader in certain parts. This 5-page story really just gives you a little bit more detail, whereas this, well, I guess you're introduced to Kyle Rayner. You're introduced a little bit more to Hal's personality, but if that hasn't already come through in the actual book itself, in the actual story itself, then I don't know. Maybe you've definitely missed something. I think his personality comes through quite clearly. I don't know why they decided to not use that little 5-page story, and to instead put in this much longer, but I'd suggest maybe not quite as useful story. Although it's very interesting, you get to see Hal Jordan interacting with his late father and so on. So that is quite nice. Everything else is very much exactly the same as what you get in the previous editions of Green Lantern Rebirth. There's this original proposal by Geoff Johns, where he talks about the various aspects of this new run of Green Lantern that he's suggesting, followed by a little bit of concept art. Literally nothing else new. Even these are exactly the same as what you get in the back of here, just a little bit larger. Speaking of size, actually, the book is the deluxe size, and therefore it is that much taller. And let's have a look in terms of the width. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that much wider, which makes a big difference, actually. Let me just finish this flick through to the very end. Biographies. This is just the script from Geoff Johns. Sorry. Okay, let me show you a little comparison here. How much you get on the page. Can you see how much loss there is here? Let me see if I can find the same page. Oh, I just opened it on exactly the same page. That's great. So let's see, we can see 3 fingers here. We can see 3 fingers here, yeah. So there's not so much loss on all of the pages. You can see the little ribbon there. It's really, yeah. I felt like this was, like there was a lot more loss, in fact, on this. Maybe some of the pages aren't quite as lossy as others, but there are some pages where I noticed that there were, for example, here you can't really see that this is a separate square that's just laid on top of this picture. It looks just like a 3-panel page. Let me see if I can find the same one here. Oh, it was right there. Oh, it's here. You can see it very well. You see that panel is just overlaid on top of the picture underneath. It doesn't come across at all here, right? Yeah, so that's quite nice. And yeah, I mean, just as in most, all of the deluxe editions, the slightly larger picture does make a difference. I like to have my pictures as big as possible, and this does make a difference to me. There we go. I feel like the deluxe edition is a little bit more, a little bit richer in color as well. I don't know if you agree. Yeah, deluxe being on the right, of course. Okay, well, that's about it for my review of the deluxe edition of Green Lantern Rebirth. If you don't know Green Lantern, this really is the perfect place to start. Yeah, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you like the video and to subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you very soon. Take care.